Today is March the 9th, and we're in the area that we were in last week, where we found a possible trackway, a possible attempt at a hoax. It's unclear, and conditions today, despite the fact it looks like a sunny day, are windier than shit. So I'm going to have to have some care for that. It's been windier than hell all week, so widowmakers and all that. So we're kind of going to be a little bit more aware of that as well. But we're going to go and look and see if I can find the trackway and do a follow-up on that. But looking at the photos, I did see some responses from people on Facebook when I posted them. People seem to want it to be more. They looked and still do like stompers, and with the amount of people that I know that do regularly come through this area, actually having something like that in this area is kind of a long shot. I come in here more for forestry and things like that, and with Vermont being tougher to get into right now, it's kind of a compromise. But there has been, not this time of year, but at other times of the year, telltale signs of potential migratory individuals coming through. But this would be something new if it was actually something more considerable. Anyway, we have some commentary to offer, and we're going to go from there. Let's get going, and I want to keep moving as much as possible, not to be an easy target for falling limbs and things, but let's get going and see what we find. The conditions, we also had a warmer week, so some of this is melted. So I'm not sure what that's going to do for likelihood of refinding the same trail. I know basically where it is. We're going to try to pick it up, and we'll go from there. So let's go and see what we find. Thanks. We're back. We are little ways into this and trying to avoid frozen spots over water, mainly because on the way in, the logging road is effectively one big sheet of ice and has a fine powdery snow on it. If you slip on that, you're going to hurt yourself. So as long as you stay on the crunchy stuff, you have a better chance. But I have to kind of hop two little streamlets here, and you have these weird little old growth trees that grew weird in here too. So a commentary I wasn't really going to make, but now that I encountered it a second time, I kind of feel the need to ask a question of the neighboring group immediately north of here. You have a person in your group this morning who came back to double down on the message of the cult of Matthew Johnson. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to handle your group's affairs, because it is your group, not mine. But I'm not one who is shy with their opinion, so I am going to give that. And this is not an attack on the group. It is a question more so. So I think from observing the majority of the people in the group that you want to have a reputation for having a scientific approach to the Sasquatch phenomenon. And when you encounter things of this nature walking into your henhouse, so to speak, it does raise the question, how do you react to it? Because there are certain people in the community I'll ignore who come in with this kind of a message, but given the level of potentially sinister psychoness that Mr. Johnson brings, I'm not going to call him a doctor because he's not. Considering that he has a questionable level of sanity himself, and I'm not going to mince words. Anyone who is pointing to his work like he's some kind of bigfooting pioneer or something, when he is probably the biggest problem to the cause of the woo on the subject whatsoever. It does kind of beg the question, when somebody like this shows up in a group and starts pushing this agenda, shy of somebody like Todd Standing or something, how do you handle it? I've not seen this person in my group. I'm going to probably, when I get home, I'm probably going to do a double check and see if she's in there. Maybe she's been watching how things occur and she's been waiting for a time and place to try to advance the narrative, because there are people like that out there. I've encountered them myself in my own travels. And it kind of does raise a question to the management of a Facebook group or like venue. What is the message pertaining to the subject of the Sasquatch phenomenon that you want to portray for yourselves? Not everybody is a so-called aper, a flesh and blood proponent. And even within that realm, you have some who are more skeptical than others. Obviously, I kind of fall, I think, more into the skeptical end of that realm. But when it comes to somebody who's selling clear and freaking obvious horse shit, like a Matthew Johnson proponent or somebody who comes through like Todd Standing. And let me make a comment right there for anyone who wants to take this on, since I'm on the subject. Anyone who hasn't seen the Muppet photos and doesn't realize that Todd Standing has a commercial interest in a Canada-based CGI company. Those Muppets are basically CGI-enhanced him. You either see that or you don't. He is one of the people who is a standardly accepted fucking fraud. Fraud Standing is the given name. There are others too, but he comes to mind. But you have this woman basically pushing the books of Matthew Johnson, and I'm not going to... I've seen the people do this before, where they're like, well, if you just read the books, they'd change your... No, they wouldn't. He's a fucking psycho. He's a psycho who had a traumatic head injury, and I know somebody who knew him who has said that he was not the same person after he got out of the hospital with a head injury. There's a very real argument for some genuine insanity in that guy's case file. So, anyone trying to sell his bullshit is effectively a cult member of the Matthew Johnson cult, because the cult of Zorth and the freaking bullshit story that he's trying to sell is, not only is it not freaking real, it's freaking ripped off Scientology fucking related folklore from a freaking MLM scam masquerading as a cult if we're talking Scientology. And fuck you if you're a Scientologist and you don't like it. I said what I said. And mainly because I had a birthday the other week and I'm a year older and I'm that closer to zero fucks given, so get over it. Because the mystery ain't going to solve itself, and it certainly ain't going to get solved by freaking Matthew Johnson being a defrauding freaking psychopath that he is. And again, fuck him if he doesn't like it. You want to take me to court for defamation or something? Your very line of rhetoric is my defense. So shut the fuck up. Nobody cares, you dumb bitch. You're not doing anything more than spreading the words of a fucking psycho. So, and frankly, fuck you for it. Moving on. We're kind of coming up towards where I found those tracks of whatever they were. I still say they seem like stompers. I think they're on the far end of this little section here, and we'll see if they're still there and what they look like a week later. I wanted to track them a little further, but now you got all this pine shit down on it too, which isn't going to probably help. But they were like right in this immediate area over here, and that tree going like that is kind of bothering me. I don't know how much you can hear of the wind, but I gotta say the average wind gust right now is probably somewhere in the realm of 30 miles an hour. And some may question my wisdom in even being out here, and you have a valid point, but again, mysteries don't solve themselves, and I don't like being cooped up on a Saturday, so maybe I'm being stupid, but I walk through here too, and that is more in line with my boot print, but I picked them up over in here. So the question is, with the melt and refreeze and down pine related stuff and all that fun and games, what remains of that? This area can unfortunately change quite a bit in a week, especially this time of year when you have warmer, colder, warmer, colder, colder, warmer, warmer. And I'll say something else too, and this is not a challenge to the neighboring group's leadership or anything, because I am on decent terms with a majority of them. I've had disagreements with the person who actually runs the group, and to each their own. I do think he has a different motivation in pursuing the subject than I do, but I'm not going to delve into that because it's not relevant to Matthew Johnson. I'm not saying he's a proponent of Johnson's bullshit, because things he has said that I could quote would point him much more into a aper mindset similar to my own. So I'm not saying he is advocating Johnson's bullshit, but you do have that in your henhouse. And me being me, I basically gave my 2 cents on it. So without the intention of starting a flame war in your group, I said what I said. My opinion has been given. If they want to make a freaking statement for it or cry victim or whatever the normal avenue they have is. I'm not liking my odds here because that's all melted and it was going in that direction, and conditions are, you had a lot of melt and refreeze during the week, so I'm not thinking you're going to find a lot. I'm stomping through here too without really regard for it, but that is what it is. You delve into March, you have a couple of days up in the we had a couple of days during the week that were approaching 60, and that is tree break. Something fell down over that, and something else fell from up there down on that too. It's deadfall. Well, I'm spouting the skeptical of manifesto right now. But that's going to probably make up my first segment, because I had things go on during the week. I forgot to charge the camera, so I don't know how much charge. I did as much as I could this morning prior to heading out, but I've got to conserve the battery so that I can not have it cut off in mid-sentence if I can avoid that. I'm going to go over this area and take a look over in that area, see if anything picks up over there. Also to hopefully be safer as it's more open. And we'll check back in with anything interesting. But for now, we're going to take a break and we'll see you back in a bit. I'm hearing trees making uncomfortable cracking noises in the wind. And tracking, unfortunately, is proving to suck because you have patchy snow, and what you have is basically, as you can hear, hard as a rock. So new tracks are probably not, you're going to have to like literally stumble right upon them in order to find anything new and compelling. I've seen a couple of deer tracks, but having been through here in the last few weeks, they're probably 2 weeks old or so. So we're going to continue just moving through this and looking for some evidence. I think it's pretty sure to say the trackway, if that's what it was from last week, has succumbed to the elements. I'm trying to pick it up over here. It was heading in this direction, and so far, no luck. And a lot of potential reason why is if you look down here, that's not even snow. That's a solid little thing you're going to slip and back plant on. That's just solid ice, and you're kind of watching your step because you have bits of just where things have melted away, crunchy snow, and then just patches of straight up ice. And trying to work with the snow as much as I can, but I'm just not finding anything beyond the odd deer track. And I did actually look at the weather app, and I came in with a realistic sense of what weather was going to provide for conditions. And it is that time of year, so you do what you can. yeah, last week was also proof you can be walking out and into this area and having a completely different set of things on your mind. And you stumble upon something then and there, and then like, okay, let's have a look. And you have to radically shift gears really quick in order to like, okay, we're in research mode because this is something. Just a matter of what the something is. The reason why I keep going back to stompers, though, the shape of them that I saw here looks like a set of stompers I've seen shown on Facebook before. They look really similar to the configuration of what's on the back or on the bottom of the boot that was shown. I'm like, that really looks like one of those. The size would be about right, too. So if by some chance you had a local out here trying to hoax me, I saw through your efforts pretty quick. I hate to burst your fun. I hate to spoil your fun, rather, but you'll have to step up your game. We're in a day and age where, thanks to AI-related bullshit, we have a better bullshit filter, and most others also probably do as well. And given the fact that a lot of the older hoax-related shit's been covered, I'd like to believe that people have a better filter for that than they used to. Resultingly, you're going to have to up your game. And also, just to make a side note, kind of a philosophical note on the subject, since we're kind of covering more of that today. I've read in the past where people point out that, hoaxers, if they get caught, should be jailed. The reality is, hoaxing is not a crime. In fact, there was a guy in New Hampshire, if you remember this, who was actually out in one of the state forests there, and he was startling hikers dressed up as Bigfoot, and he got arrested. The thing is, he fought that in court, citing it as a First Amendment rights violation, and the fucked up thing is, he won. He won that case. He sued the state for false arrest based on that, and they actually handed it. I don't know how much money he won in his resulting civil rights lawsuit, but the fact of the matter is he actually did win that case. So that is one slap in the face for anyone trying to say, well, hoaxing is a crime. No, it's not. And unfortunately for you, because I am into legal stuff too, there is legal precedent to say that. Specifically pertinent to Bigfoot and hoaxing Bigfoot stuff. Crime? No. I could also cite the Hovey versus Poling case. Thoroughly different set of circumstances, and it was basically a copyright infringement case, and I'm not going to go into the freaking lack of merit the case I've never had, but bottom line, the judge ended up I've read the PACE report on this, front to back, and the judge that was manning the case threw it out very quickly, probably because Bigfoot. It never actually made it into court. So suing somebody over Bigfoot stuff probably is not going to get very far based on historical precedent to date. And obviously there are those that probably feel strongly about this out there, but that's the reality of it, and there you go. I was hoping I could kind of ramble on and find some element of tracks, because this stuff is a little bit softer, and at least it is where the sun is. And I'm not seeing that, so I smell another segment break coming on. So for plans, let's cover plans in the next few weeks. I do want to get up to Vermont, and we are getting to the point, like within the month, I'm probably going to get up there at least once and have the initial look around up there. But it's also the early season itch, as I call it. I looked at what the weather was going to be up there today, and what you were looking at was something windier today. And when you factor in the wind chill, your actual wind conditions up there today, we're going to average about -6. You have that little minus thingy in front of 6 degrees. Now, 6 degrees is cold as it is. Anything that is throwing a minus on there, you're just not going to want to be out there. Plus, gates are still closed. Plus, it's bitterly cold, and just the travel time up there You don't gain anything. So I saw these. These are probably mine. Or like, because they're right about the same size, except for this one. This is an example of melt and refreeze distortion. You can't even really tell what the shape of it is. And that's after a week, again, of days where you're probably, I mean, down in central Connecticut, it hit about 60 one day. The other days, it was in the mid-50s. Up here, that probably amounts to like the upper 40s, but still enough to get some token snow melt. And then it gets all cold when the sun comes down and freezes, and every time you do that, you get a layer of distortion to what a track looks like. Again, because forestry and related science. That's how that works. Also, when you come after a snow and you have like a powdery snow and you have the powder coming off the trees and you have the snow dents made from the powder falling versus like actual tracks. Different time of winter, earlier in winter usually, but same kind of a situation. And because I'm not finding a lot and there's really not a lot to cover, the only really new thing, I guess Steve calls is a new book out, or maybe he's just plugging what he's had. He's written a few books, so I kind of lose track. But have a look at that. I'll plug something for Steve because Steve is one of the more level-headed scientific hoax-busting types out there, and you need more of that, not less. You need more of that and less Zorth. And anyone who takes Zorth seriously, you don't need to be getting more Bigfoot in your life. You need to stay at a psych ward and more medication. I said that. So if you actually follow anything I do, Eileen, I said that. If you're proposing that you read the Matthew Johnson nonsense, like the actual Zorth shit, good luck with that. Get help, get meds, get better. I'm going to take a segment break, and I'm going to loop back down by where the pond is, see if anything wandered down there. There were a couple of moose tracks down there a few weeks ago, and see if I can find any remnants of those or if they survived. And I'm going to, again, conserve battery power on the camera, mainly just because, again, I know it doesn't have a full charge. I did remember to format the SD card because it was full last week, and it did cut out on me. So you'll see one segment in the video that I've yet to put up yet where it suddenly changes to like a phone view because that's what I had to work with. And that gets filed under bleep happens, but it does. And you improvise in the field, and that's kind of how that works. Anyway, we'll be back in a bit, and segment break time, and this is where you get up and go get a snack or something, and we'll be back in a little bit.